Hello, my name is Caleb Aaron, and I am here to discuss a star-based story inspired by the arrangement of the planets on the 12th of August. I don't believe in astrology. I don't have faith in astrology. I practice it. I love the system, and I think it's a really interesting way of using my real-world experiences and also the position of the actual planets around us. I always begin with the sun. The sun is a very bright point. All life begins around. It's the thing that won't quit. And that sun is in its home base of Leo. So that means that you being you having this experience based on what is possible in this universe is what is at stake. Leo is a performative sign. It wants to be an expert. It wants to be masterful. It is the most self-expressive of all the zodiacal signs. Now that light, if you look here, that's the sun in Leo at 19 degrees. A full moon is whenever the moon is exactly on the other side of the constellations. This one is at 1921 in Aquarius. Aquarius is sort of the counterbalance polarity to Leo. It actually, in my experience, wants to be just as integral and as important, but in a much more behind-the-scenes way. Like, it wants to know that it is as relevant as Leo. It is, in fact, it probably wants to be in charge more than Leo. Leo wants the applause. Aquarius wants to be the one to uphold the system. It is detached and cold. I imagine it like a bird flying over. Aquarius energy is not nice. It's not nice. It's consistently executing. That doesn't mean an Aquarius person can't be nice, but the energy about it is upholding boundaries. So because of this opposition between the sun and moon, it's sort of an intense time where you've got this soul impulse that's like, I want to be integral, with this embodied, like, I need to deal with the restrictions and limitations and structures that are existing. Now that the sun is at home in Leo, the moon is not at home in Aquarius. I think it's probably not as happy in Aquarius as it is in other constellations because the moon wants to be nurtured and supported, and approaching it with a very highly sort of like cold, distant nature, it makes it kind of challenging. And Saturn is actually in Aquarius. So Saturn rules Aquarius. So it's good that the Lord of Aquarius, Saturn, which rules death, is at home in Aquarius. So you can see that's the little one with the cross. That sort of limit upholder, which I say is sort of like gravity. Like if we didn't have gravity, if we didn't have time, we didn't have all these things, then our experience would be very different. It's sort of like the limitations and the restrictions and the cold frozen part. Since it's so close to the moon, this is kind of gnarly. This is gnarly. Like, it makes for a very tough, this is the way it is, anything that's outside of this system has got to go. Like, it's kind of like that. So you kind of need to see that those two energies are trying to go in different directions, but they must find a way. You have to build a bridge with an opposition, which is what happens with a full moon between these two sides. Now, if you look at this, you've got the sun here and the moon there. There's a point where they're meeting. See this red triangle? Let me actually use my mouse. This red triangle here is basically forming this T-square, which is, man, kind of coming to a head, if you will, where looks like Mars not as much. Mars is a little bit off center. 18 degrees and 17 is a little closer, but it's still in the vicinity. This Uranus, North Node, and Mars point. Now, Uranus is the sudden, accident-prone or revolutionary. It's like the shock of electricity. It's something that changes things up immediately. It's out of the blue. So that energy mixed with Mars, which is, again, it's not as focal to these planets, but there is this inertia, this warrior, this cutting energy, this heat. And then the dragon is the point where the eclipses happen. So it's like a part where there's this dragon swallowing up the light that we would normally see. So that eclipse point is a point where things get a little mysterious and sort of maybe even ominous. Uranus is this jolt, and Mars is this aggressive warrior. So that energy, all in the constellation of Taurus, which is about what you're eating, getting comfortable, your like slowest, most steady daily routine for the self. Woo! There's something about this full moon that is disrupting of a steady pattern. It is a very good time to change something about yourself. For instance, for me, the thing that needs to change, I need to get a routine that includes movement in the form of dance and stretching and yoga. Right now, like, there's this sort of subdued grief feeling, so I'm gonna try and integrate and find ways to build a routine that really serves me. That's the goal. That's what I'm trying to do, at least. So that's the T-square. That's certainly the most primary thing that I'm seeing right now in the heavens. Now, we do need to incorporate this Venus in Leo. Why? Because, so the sun rules Leo, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, that's this one right here. So we kind of know how they're doing, but how is the ruler of Taurus doing? Taurus is ruled over by Venus in traditional astrology, so Venus has just made its way into Leo, so it's again going towards that like emanating self energy. Like, imagine if the sun just decided to stop. Everything around it would fail. Like, Leo wants to be like that. Leo wants to be like the sun. Leo wants to emanate. Venus, the god of love, has just moved into that territory as well, so she wants to bring this sort of loving, caring, sensitive, wanting connection and pleasure to this self-concept. So it's really going to be interesting. It's actually being opposed by Pluto, which is transformation, deep transformation. It's being trined here by Neptune, which can be humanitarianism, super artistic things, or it can be escapism. There's so many different things that these planets represent. But what I'm seeing, since there's this sort of convergence between Pluto, Neptune, and Venus in this triangle shape, there's a lot of opportunity to really share yourself and sort of your beliefs about how things are done and achievement and that kind of an energy, and how it connects to everybody and how it connects to everyone. That's sort of what I'm getting. There's this sense of like, is what I am doing, is the light that I'm sharing really helpful in changing this society for the better? Is it really helpful, or am I trying to placate and just do what other people have said? Ask yourself, is the pleasure coming in a way that is sustainable for the most people and the most animals? If you go to a restaurant that uses a bunch of disposable stuff, can you ask them, hey, is there any way I can get this on a plate? Or can I not have the bag? Can you put it on this? Like, what can we do to try to stop with this consumeristic habit? Because we like take a bunch of stuff for our lives and then it ends up somewhere collecting. Or in the ocean or wherever, or on the streets, and I don't know. I want us to start working together and thinking really long term and really deep about what it is that we're doing. So, okay, what other things do I want to say? There's one more little triangle, interesting shape here between the same Pluto-Neptune, but it's actually going, the sextile is pretty exact to Mars. So, Mars and Neptune sextile. There's a learning opportunity here. I think it's a very musically talented, very artistic, sort of expressive, love-based learning opportunity. And again, every person's chart has a different focal point based off the time and place you were born, and the date, of course. So it's hard to say how that sort of really interesting learning discovery opportunity between your like body's daily maintenance and all the stuff that you need, and also sort of the collective's dreamy unity have a place to fit together. Again, I think it's going deep into this self-inquiry, this discovery of like what is working, what is not working about my specific energy, about what I'm doing day to day. I think that is pretty much all of the lines that I'm seeing. Mercury is in Virgo, so it's a really great time to analyze and go deep, and it's not being aspected by anything majorly according to this chart, which is what I'm basing the reading off of. So that Mercury is so happy in Virgo to get details and things accomplished. So really lean into analyzing, critiquing, pros and cons, sorting it out. To conclude, Jupiter and Chiron are both in Aries. They're both retrograde. There's this sense of your individualistic spark, your impulsive energy getting a boost from Jupiter, but also there's this sort of kind of like wound that won't heal maybe around you expressing yourself. So it's a good time to perhaps ask yourself the question, what motivates me? How can I use the things that I've experienced to help others, to increase a sort of optimistic feeling about this universe, about this realm that we thrust into. Yeah. With love, light, and the snake's bite.